Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us to our webinar. Today we are going to talk about data redundancy. You know, in opposite of hardware redundancy, which is very often okay. All of you are shipping server with a kind of rate, of course. This is a standard. And many of you will ship a redundant power supply. Many of you will ship even cluster like iSCSI failover or NAS failover, this kind of stuff. But very often, or I will say too often, we have problem with too little data redundancy. Data redundancy, you know, kind of backups. Sometimes even if you consider once backup which is done on the one medium every day, it can be that you know, for a long time it works, but you know, Murphy law, when you lose your data and you want to restore, then you have problems. So data redundancy is very important topic, and very often it is just forgotten. I will go for the while to our blog, and I would like to introduce you a quite funny article. Okay, cannot delete or delete. Maybe I will find it. It is impossible to delete this file. So this is a short story about one administrator which came to us, you know, no backup at all, no replication at all, and he asked whether he can undelete the data. And from another point, a girl, which, you know, some not nice pictures of her were, not convenient pictures were made and were spread into internet in many thousand locations. So in this case, it was, police says it was impossible to delete this file of her from the internet because so many loads. And from another one, the administrator which have the data, important data in one instance, and then somebody is deleting this data and he is crying, he has no more data. So he will envy the girl to have the problem and not delete the file, and this girl will envy this guy, you know. So please keep it in mind that your data needs to be in somehow redundant, and this can be done very cheap, extremely cheap. In our case, there is a replication built into the product. There is no extra price for the software. It works based on a very good algorithm called rsync. We have this fully tested, very stable. The algorithm for replicating the data files works within the same system, works over LAN, so in the local area network in your office, from one server to another, or from one server to PC and so on. Also, it works perfect over internet. So you can have very poor lines. You can use just 2 megabit uplink lines, and lines can be also unstable. And imagine all your data will be perfect replicated to another location, and the data will be perfect consistent because the algorithm is checking so-called MD5 checksums and proving whether the data which were moved to another locations are identical with the source. In few cases, even in our case, when we wanted to move the data or big amount of data or big amount of the directories and files, sometimes we're using external tools copying over the network, but it failed most of the times. When we were using built-in data replication, it was working perfect all the time. So I really recommend to use data replication. It works perfect, it works stable, and it is very reliable based on the checksums. Okay, so I would like, before we will start the configuration, or maybe opposite, I will just log into another machine and we will start to use our two servers which I prepared to our demo today, because we are going also to run the demonstration, not only talk. Okay. It is more convenient for me to run our demo on another machine. This is why I'm logging to console to another server. Okay, I have prepared two systems for today. Okay, and systems supposed to be empty, so there is no volume group, there is no logical volume. That will be easier for us to learn how to set up. Okay, you see the one is DSS 230, that's the server name, you just set it in the setup. Under interfaces, that's the so-called server name. You will enter this here. If you have more than one, you need to of course put your every machine different name. I'm just putting the DSS, and 230 is a last IP segment of my IP address, right? So I can easily recognize both. You see, I have 192.168.0, 230, 230, and so on. And here the same story. That's 240, second machine. Okay, and when we go to volume manager and volume groups, then we'll see both systems are not formatted yet. Okay, so let us maybe make some change here. On the second machine I have software rate, and on the very first machine I have software rate as well. How to find that this is software rate? Because MD, multi-device, right? So of course we do recommend hardware rate for the production. It's in many cases better than the software rate, but software rate works as well. In our case here, we were preparing just a RAID 0, because RAID 0 don't need initializing, then I can create or remove this very fast. You see, the option to remove is there because I have no volume group at all. So I deleted content of units, so there is no volume groups available. This is why I can go to software rate now, and I can remove this software rate. I want to do it because I want to show you what is the practical configuration. In few cases you can use such a configuration also with your hardware rate. My goal is now to make a RAID over 3 drives and leave one as a extra drive. Okay, so rescan. So in such case, when you will have the system with the bigger number of drives, then maybe it is good, instead of having hot spare, you may have a JBOD drive, a single drive. And these single drives can be used as a local disk, as a destination for your data replication. Imagine today you have already desktop drives which are 4 terabyte size. I have seen this already at the distribution. Currently there is a very big problem with the hard disk. Everybody of you knows already that there is a shortage. But before the shortage and then after the shortage will be fixed, you can buy already 4 terabyte hard disks. So even if you have, a lot of data, you can make 2 or 3 such a hard disk as an extra software RAID, and then have a local replication. Let us do our example. Now I will create again, maybe I will take 2 drives only, make a RAID 0. I have very small drives. By the way, this is SSDs. On the second I have regular SATA drives. Okay. Good. So you see I have created one, and then next one this is a unit which is available, so I don't need to touch it here, because when I go to the volume manager, these drives are connected directly to the main board, and these drives are available. So on the very 2 first drives I made a RAID 0, and I can just create new volume group. Okay, let us go to the second system, and by meantime we have this. I will show you that this is also software RAID. Okay. In this case it was a RAID 5. Okay, so let us leave it like this, and let us make a volume group. That will be our destination machine. Okay, so I just apply. It will create a volume group, and on the very first machine we are creating the volume group, the first volume group, and the next units we can use as a next volume group. So once it is done, then we can format the next one. Okay, waiting for the so you see the VG00 is already available. Then we can create the logical volumes over there already. Let us do it. In my case, that's very small drives, but for the demo it is enough. Let me create, let's say, 100 giga space for my data. This is enough for our tests. And let's say this is a mission critical data, and I want to have them replicated, and I want to have them replicated for the local disk, and maybe for the LAN, or maybe even over internet. Okay, so we have created this. I go back to the volume groups, and now let me select the second one, and you see we have this option: add a new volume group or add to existing. Of course we will add new volume group, because we want to have these units separated. Separated means when one of them is missing, another one still can work. Okay, on the second one we have already volume group. Then we need to create a logical volume, NAS logical volume. Okay, so we can select the type. This is NAS logical volume, so we can leave it. Okay, let me create, let's say, 1000 gig. I do not take the all space, because just in case I need more, I can always make it bigger. and I will leaving a free space because maybe I will need for something else. Maybe I will need for snapshot or this kind of stuff. So it is practical to leave some space free. Or maybe you will need a separate logical volume. That's practical because you see, when I have 1000, I can make it bigger. Okay, let me see, modify. I can say add maybe 10. Okay, so I will have 1010 after the operation is done. So you see, online, without interrupting the users, you can expand the volume. Very easy, it takes few seconds, but you can never squeeze, you can never make the volume smaller, unfortunately. So this is why I leave some free space. Okay, so now you see it's 1010. Okay, now we have two logical volumes, and on the fresh created VG01, let me also create a NAS volume. So let's say here I will put also 100. So by meantime, when we already have a logical volume created, maybe on the primary I will create one more NAS volume, also 100. So we have two logical volumes. We can better learn. One is 2. Good. And now let me come back to our presentation. So we want to show how to configure, so how to set up snapshots, and we will do it just in few minutes. But next step is to see what are the possible configurations. So we can have the replication within the system. So in opposite to volume replication, when you do the volume replication is synchronous and cannot be done within the system. You need at least two systems. Data replication is very flexible. As a destination, you can have the exactly the same IP, so your own system IP as a destination, and then you can replicate the data from one to another volume. In our case, we have made this, or we will make this on the two separate volume groups, and the volume group 00 is consisting of two hard disks which are joined to software 8, and the next one is a separate hard disk. So we will replicate the data from one device to another device, right? So they are physically separated. Good. So that's the first option. Look, now the next slide shows different options. Now we have two servers, and then 192.168.0.230. That's the source, and then data replication goes to 192.168.0.240 to the second server. That's a bit different than the previous slide. I come back. Here you see we have one server, one chassis, but two volumes. It can be both can be RAID array, and source can be RAID array, destination can be just a single disk. As I mentioned, 4 terabyte is a lot of space, of 3 terabyte disk, so you can have in the local system extra copy, so you can reach the, with this extra data redundancy, right? Okay, so the next slide is showing the two systems, and next slide is showing the option that the one system can replicate the data to few locations. These 3 points means you can have unlimited number of locations. Of course, there are limitations because you can have the maximum 10 snapshots per volume. So at the same time, simultaneously, you can run 10 replications, but when the replications are done within few hours, you can schedule in the next few hours another 10 replications. So practically, and the replications are moving only deltas, so practically there are some implementations when the people are moving shares to 50 different locations. Yeah. And now, next slide is the opposite situation. I have plenty of different locations, and in my central server, I make more shares because every replication needs a separate share. So I can have separate volumes or one big RAID array. When I have many shares, I just put graphically that this is kind of different data store. So you can store to central server from plenty customers. So we have customers which have, let's say, 50 locations in Germany, and they can replicate the data to one central server. Okay, so now let's continue with the replication. In order to start the replication, we will need a snapshot, and to prove that we will need snapshot, I will maybe start to configure the replication, and of course I will get prompt that I need a snapshot, right? So the very first goal will be just start a data replication within the system. Okay, so I have here on the VG01 I have a volume, and on the VG00 I have 2 volumes. So we need shares, and we need some test data, and we need start to replication. So in order to make some practical demonstration, I will connect our NAS server to our Active Directory server. So myself will be listed as a user. Okay, so I'm applying and connecting to Active Directory. So that will be more practical because I can use a just guest account or create internal account. But in most cases you will use the external database like PDC or Active Directory services. So this is why also we want to show that it's as close to the real life as possible. Okay, so now I'm connected. When I go to NAS and shares, in the next windows you see the users are already listed. So now let me create a share with name data. And you see here when I have a more than one logical volume, NAS logical volume of course, because when it's iSCSI logical volume we will not show it here. I have a question on which logical volume I want to create a subdirectory with the same name as a share. Okay, so let me create on the first one. Apply. So now we have created a share with the name data, and the path to this share is on the logical volume 00 and then subdirectory data. Okay, one more thing very important, that's the path which this share is pointing to. The next thing very important, I didn't mention, when I go to NAS settings, it is really strongly recommended to use Wins server. So my Active Directory server and DNS server, that's the one with 192.168.0.10, and this is also Wins server. So I apply, and this helps me that the changes in the NAS are much faster propagated over my network, and I will not need to wait a long time to see my shares. Okay, so now we want to say, replicated data, and the replicated data we want to create on the next device. So we see LV00 that's and LV0001, that's two logical volume on the first VG00, and on the VG01, so next drive, it's here. So I'm selecting now the next device, and I want to create R data, so that will be my, let's say, my replicated data. Okay, apply. So we have a share with data, we have a share with R data. I want to give access to myself, so I select the data, and I need to select myself on the user list and to give access to myself. So I say JAN, and that will be enough for find all these people which has J and N in our directory. That's me and my colleague. Okay, so now I just select myself. Okay, apply. I could select also the group, and let us do it for replicated data. For example, I select the replicated data right now, and I can select a group. So let's say admin users. That means everybody who is listed in the domain will have access. And I can also say that maybe replicated data needs to be a read-only share, right? Because you don't want that the replicated data are overwritten or this kind of stuff. Okay, so now we are done with creating the shares, and then let's say we are ready to make a replication from the source data to my destination data. But it will be nice to access this data and to create some or copy some test data. Okay, so I will just enter DSS 230 and the share name is data. And let me create some test file. So I create, okay, some test file, and I have one on the D, maybe 1 gig, copy. Okay, and just paste it. So I have at least something when I will run the data replication. Okay, so now I have my test data. So let us go and create a so-called replication task. So in maintenance data replication, the first problem, the data replication is not enabled yet. So I need to go to the configuration NAS settings and enable this. Okay, so let us do it. NAS settings. The system is shipped by default with all the services disabled because of security reasons. So enable data application agent, and now when it's applied, you can also check when the data replication agent is running in the status system. You must see that this agent is started. You may expect the problems if you will see some red message here, a warning. Okay, so the data replication service. Okay, you see it is active. It's on and active. It means everything is okay. So now we go to the backup replication. And now we see the different screen. Now we have, we are invited to create the replication task. So RT, my replication task. I'm selecting my source. And first, so next problem, no snapshots found. Okay, then we need to create the snapshots. So let us go to the NAS volume. And let us go to our source volume. And we will need to create and assign the volume to our source volume, a snapshot to our source volume. So new snapshot. And assign to the logical volume 00. If I forget to assign, I have a next function when I can reassign later on. So let's say my replication will be done in the night when nobody is working, so I will not produce the data. So in such case, the snapshot which is needed here can be very small. I will just add the 1 giga. Because during this time nobody will create new data. But if this will be the replication task running every 10 minutes, then you will need to make a bigger snapshot. Let's say the replication task will take maybe 20 minutes, even it started every 10 minutes. And you create all the time new data, so the snapshot must be big enough that during the replication task is running, you will not create more data than assigned for the snapshot. So in our case, we assign very small space, 1 gig only, because let's say I will schedule this during the night. Okay, so now I have a snapshot, and let us next try, so backup, data replication. Now, okay, replication task. I'm selecting my source. This time is better. I have a snapshot already. I can select this. Destination IP 192.168.0.230. That's my local IP. And now I'm searching for the destination share. Okay, I have a prompt that I didn't create any share for the destination. So I need to select the share, and I need to enable this share to be overwritten with the replication task. So that's my share, which my goal is to be overwritten. So I'm selecting this and scroll down and enable data replication. And on the destination, there is a few more settings. You can leave it empty if you don't care, but extra security, for this replication task, you can set a username for the replication task and also password. Okay, let me set something. Or let's say login name admin, password admin as well. We don't really care about security in this case. And even you can set the IP which is allowed to replicate over this share. In my case, I will just put myself. You can leave it empty as well. If you leave it empty, then everyone can, who knows the username and this password, can replicate over this. If you put this IP, only from this IP, it will be possible to override this share, right? If you leave it empty, then every IP is okay. So now, one more try, data replication. Okay, next try, I think the last one. We select our source. No more to select because only one snapshot. And our local IP. And now we search for the destination. Yes, this time is better. We find the one share. and we know that the login was admin and the password was admin, and we can select don't delete files. In this case, we have guaranteed that the files which are deleted on the source will be kept after every replication on the destination. Otherwise, when we have on the source 100 files, then after replication is done on the destination will be 100 files. If we now next delete 50 of them, so the next replication task is coming, and it will also make the destination exactly the same, so will be 55 all the destination. If you have these, all deleted files will be not touched. Okay, I have a task, so now let me also go to the replication data. It is empty, so now we can start the task immediately, or we can click here on the left side and create the schedule. Okay, I can create the schedule. As I mentioned, I want this during the night, so first option is interval, every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes or so on, or I can select the weekly based, and I say every day at 3 o'clock, right, in the morning. Okay, so once created, I have such task. If I want to change it for 4 o'clock, then I just need to remove it and create one more time and set 4 o'clock. Okay, but we are very curious whether it works properly, so we can just start this now manually and go to status and task and see the progress. So far we have no running task, and the destination is empty. So you see the snapshot is just started, and now replication task is started, and the replication task now finds the deltas between the source and destination, and it will move the files to the destination. So we have a 1 giga file and 2 very small files. Okay, I was expecting that this will be a bit faster. Okay, so now the replication task is already done. Probably I need to click the refresh button. Yeah. Need to be refreshed, then it shows the data after the replication. Okay, and here we have some statistics, and okay, we see that 3 files was transferred, and 5 files because it is also counting the directory, unfortunately. So that's the 3 files. It was sent, 1000 meg, and the transfer was quite slow. The server which I'm using is quite bad, but doesn't matter. It was replicated as we expect. So in the replicated data, we have exactly the same as on our data, right? What happened when I, let's say, delete these 2 files and start the replication one more time? Okay. Backup data replication. We start one more time. Okay, then we go to status. So now the system supposed to, yes, it is starting the snapshot. So see, everything works automatically. Snapshot, then the replication task. Replication task now will find the delta, move the deltas, and this time you see there is nothing to move actually, so it was much faster, and we see the files transferred is 0 in this case, right? And on the destination we have exactly everything not deleted, because we have selected do not delete. So the option that do not delete the files on the destination. If somebody is very chaotic and then deleting the files like crazy, so this option is very practical. Okay, so that was a replication tool in the local system, and then when we create the share on the second machine and enable this for the replication, I will do it now at once. So I will say R data and let's say 240. I know that this is on the second machine. Okay, so I apply it, then I select the share, and I will need to enable for the replication. In order to enable to the replication, I go and try to enable, but it will not work because the data replication agent is still off. I need to go to the NAS settings, okay, enable the data replication agent, because in status system you see that the data replication agent is still not switched on the second system. Okay, we have a services. Now it is collecting all the services, and now it's collecting the status, and in a few seconds we will have it. And what happened? The data replication service is off. Okay, that's the reason. So let us go to settings and scroll down, enable data replication. Okay, so now we can select the share and enable this for the okay, so in this case I can put also admin, and I can put 192.230. That's the only this one, this IP can write to my share. But I see a question already. Let me stop for a while and answer the question. So the question is, so now it's making the replication or just snapshot? So I have, I guess that the question was answered that it was making a snapshot automatically and then starting replication at once. Next question. Will file access settings be copied as well? Yes, the access control lists are by default checked and by default are copied as well. If you don't need, then please uncheck this, because without access control list it works of course faster, especially when you have millions of files. Then this change matter. Okay, so we have the secondary system, and on the secondary system we have not connected to the Active Directory yet, right? So we can select this share and make it as a guest, Okay, that's one option. Then will be public share, or we can also see the progress in the browser here. When I select this and click on select specified path, I have also the file browser here. So I can select my logical volume, then I can select my directory and see that's empty. Okay. Now let us create one more task. And when I'm creating one more task, then I need one more snapshot. Of course, I can force and I can use exactly the same. So R21, next task, I can take my data and I can use the same snapshot. But if the task will be run exactly at the same time, then one of them will finish with error that cannot create the snapshot. So it will be very practical to make private snapshot for every for every task. So in this case, I go to VG00 and I need to create one more snapshot. Okay, so we say new snapshot and we just assign also to the LV00 and also so small because it will run at night. Okay. Now we have a next snapshot which will be assigned to LV00. You see I have a next volume and I do not assign snapshots here because my data, mission critical data which need to be replicated is on the LV00, right? So I go to backup, replication. So next task, I can say replication task, let's say 240, right? I can use this name. So data, and now I have two options to select. So now I select next snapshot, and then I'm just giving a next IP, and I'm searching. So it find one share because I was already making this enable, and that's the R data 240. I remember I was giving the username, so admin. Okay, so I can say don't use access control list, and also don't delete files. I will leave it empty. So if I delete the files on the primary, it will be deleted also on the secondary. So I apply. I cannot use a minus. I need to use underscore instead. So R2. Okay, then next task appear, and also we can set the schedule for the next task. That will be almost identical. I can have them running exactly at the same time, or I can have them running, you know, maybe first at 4, second at 5, for example. So they will not run exactly at the same time. Okay? And now we are curious whether it will work properly, so we can just start manually and observe what's going on. So in status tasks, we will see that this next replication task will start snapshot 001 because that's the one which is assigned. That's happened already. And next the task will start, will replicate the data to the second machine and will stop. Okay, so from time to time I can already have a look here and see. You see there is some file over there with a very you know, funny name, because this is a temporary name and the file is not copied yet and has got temporary name. After the file is fully copied, and the MD checksum is done, then you see the file is already there. Because I was having one file on the primary, then you see, because we have, that's the our data, but our data is one single file, then of course afterwards we have one single file on our destination. So it was done. Now we can see in the statistic that this 1 giga file was copied. That was the replication speed, and the one file was copied. So if I have a replication which supposed to go over internet, then there is information here. In order to perform a replication over internet, you have to configure the firewall port to port 873. So you need to configure the NAT, the NAT, on your firewall, and redirect port 873 to your DSS server, okay, and on both sides. So in this case, you will be able to go via firewall and replicate the data with rsync. Rsync works on port 873, so this is why you need to configure the firewall. If you forget about it, just click on any data replication help and you will find this information, right? Okay, that will be the only difference when you go over internet. Destination IP, that will be the IP of your colocation, and the firewall will be set and forwarded to your DSS, and then it will reach the destination server, and the rest works exactly the same as in LAN or in local system. Let me see if there is any more questions. Okay, so far everything looks like understood, because I don't see any questions. I guess this kind of replication is very easy to set. As you see, you can have the one shell which has a mission critical data. Like in our case, we have a mission critical data on the logical volume 00, and that's in the directory data, on the shared data. And we were able to replicate this to the local hard disk, which is on the as a separate device, and to another PC. At the third time, you can also replicate to another location. In such case, you can reach the data redundancy very good. So if you copy to 2 locations or even 3 locations, then you have your live data and you have extra copies on the regular base. So once a day, or the schedule can be very different. You can copy to collocation once a day, but you can copy to your local disk every 10 minutes, for example. So then go to backup data replication and change this schedule to, okay, you will go to RT. RT is a local task. So say you don't want once a day, but you want every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes, right? Okay, just apply. And now every 15 minutes, the task will start. And of course, we'll start the snapshot first, because snapshot is emulating that nobody is accessing the data. So during all the people are working, a snapshot emulates that everybody went home. This is why we use snapshot. And then we'll compare the source from the snapshot with the destination, find the delta, and move the delta to the destination. And this will be on very, frequent period, in our case every 15 minutes. If you will produce more data than 1 giga every 15 minutes, then of course the snapshot we created here will be too small. You can delete this snapshot and recreate as a bigger one, or you can expand this snapshot. Sorry, the snapshot cannot be expanded. You need to sorry, I just mix with the logical volume. You need to unassign the snapshot. Okay. Once the snapshot is unassigned, that's the one. Okay, sorry. We can modify the snapshot as well. So I'm too tired. Modify snapshot 00, and let's say I have a 1 gig, so I will add, in this case, maybe 9. Afterwards, I will have 10 gig for the snapshot, and if this is still not enough, then of course you can add a bit more, and then you have 10 gig. Now you can also go here and assign to logical volume 00. You see, both snapshots are of course assigned to my source volume. Okay, now we are modified, so you see now the icon is like this because it's assigned snapshot, and I hope it will be enough space in this snapshot to finish the task without any problem. The next question is coming. Can I do a remote replication between DSS 5 and DSS 6? As long as they are using the same 64-bit volume, for sure yes, because we are using the same replication tool. It may be the problem if you have the 32 and 64-bit. It may be, but we need to ask support and check it. I'm not really sure now. 90% yes, because the replication task is supposed to be independent. But you know, life is brutal, and sometimes there are some details which do not match. But in 90% yes, but the only and for sure when you have both 64-bit. And the only problem it can be that the 32-bit or 64-bit. That's the only what I have now. If you need answer for this question, just send me an email. I will check with support. Next thing is, next question. To modify, you need first to unassign it. Okay, let us see. I have assigned still, and I have 10. Let us modify snapshot 00 and add another 5. It's supposed to work without any problem, so you don't need to unassign. When you unassign, then you have option to assign to another volume. This is why the function, or you just create a snapshot which is not assigned to any volume, so you can later assign to the volume, to the wish volume, right? So now we have 15, and if I create a snapshot and do not assign to any volume, just create, then I can assign to the volume later on here once it's created. Okay, good. If you have some more questions, please write them now, because we are running out of time. We plan only 1 hour for today. So you see it's unassigned, and you can also assign later on here. Okay, and unassigned has this kind of icon, and assign this kind of icon.